welcome to How to Actually Land Work When You Get Out. I'm Jennifer Velasquez, and I have been supporting men along their reentry journeys for the last few years at Kingdom Towers in Lubbock. If you're coming out of incarceration, one of the most important things you can do is to get a job right away. Not a perfect job, not your dream career, but a job. Because in reentry, employment isn't just about the money you make, but it's about building stability, it's about having structure, and about proving to yourself and others, including your family, that you are moving forward. Today, I'm going to break down exactly how to get hired, what actually works, and the mistakes to avoid while you're seeking employment. A lot of people get stuck because they think, I don't want to do that type of job, or that isn't good enough for me, or that's not what I want to do long term. But the truth is, your first job is not your final destination. It's a starting point, and the income that you make is going to create stability, and that stability will help create options for you later. The Word of God says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time." I think this is important scripture to keep in mind, that if you're willing to do what it takes starting out, that the Lord will reward you in the end, and he is going to set up all the people along your journey that you need to keep you moving forward and to achieve your goals. Let's go over 3 steps to consider when seeking employment. Step 1 is to get employed as quickly as possible. Even if it's a basic job, even if it's temporary work, even if it's something that is just going to be work to last for a few days, because that's going to start to build credibility within yourself to your parole officer or probation officer, to, if you're in a type of program like at Kingdom Towers, the staff of the, program that you're in, and, also with your friends and family. It's going to show that you're serious and you're accountable and you're making progress. Remember, when you get out, you're building your credibility from day one. You need to be excited about any little job that comes your way and look at it as a step into your future, and use your new mindset that you have, that you're looking to the future, you're looking ahead to things that you can achieve, but you have to start somewhere. Step 2, I think this is very important. You need to stay consistent. Consistency is going to be key across the board, not just while looking for a job, but in your entire reentry journey. And this is where a lot of people mess up. But it's about showing up every day. It's about doing what it takes and, being responsible. It's about being on time, even a little bit early, ready to work, and having a positive attitude. Your reliability is what is going to be that builds trust. And trust is going to be what opens up the doors for you later on. But you definitely want to start building that trust back with the people that you've lost it from, and also with the new people that you meet. Step 3, you can look to move up or transition. After a few months in your reentry journey while you've been working, things might start to look different for you. You now have a little bit of work history. You've built up some references. You have, people that can be a phone reference for you for a job, maybe even write you letters of recommendation. And those are the types of things that you're going to need as you prove yourself. And it's going to be proof of consistency, that consistency we talked about showing up every day. And those 3 steps are going to be what's going to remove the barriers for the things that you want in your future. Better opportunities start showing up, but only if you stayed consistent, like we talked about. Let's talk about jobs that tend to have a high success rate during reentry. There's a lot of industries that are open to hiring people with backgrounds because A, they need workers, and they know that a lot of you guys are really trying to prove yourselves when you're coming out. And so these jobs are going to look like construction and general labor. If you know how to do these things, it's great. We have a lot of our guys at Kingdom Towers that do this type of work, and they're very successful at it. Warehousing and logistics. We have a very large warehouse type place that services the large grocery stores in our area, and some of our guys work there. Those types of jobs may take longer to get, so you might not look at getting something like that right out, but that might be something like your next step, for a long-term goal, because those are really good jobs and usually have great benefits. Food service jobs, these are going to be key to a lot of people coming out. We have a lot of restaurants around Kingdom Towers. We're in a downtown area, and a lot of our guys walk to or can ride electric bikes to these types of jobs. And it's very convenient that they're close, especially if the guys come out and they're on a monitor or some type of tracking device. And they're kind of limited as to how much they can move around. These types of jobs are very good for our guys. And a lot of the guys work at these even long term, and they work their way up, to management positions. And so these are actually great opportunities. Even if someone starts out washing dishes and, later on becomes a manager of a place. I mean, there's always upward mobility in jobs like this. Manufacturing and trades, if you know any type of trade, from welding to electrical work or plumbing, heating and air conditioning, these types of jobs, these places are always hiring. And this is honestly a great way that one day you could even possibly work for yourself. I personally know of, people who have come out with records and have their own business, being an electrician or different types of trades like that, and they actually make really good money, and they actually provide, for other employees, and can actually hire other people coming out of incarceration and be able to help other people. So if, that could be a long-term goal for yourself if you know a trade, because I do know that this is possible and I've witnessed it for myself. These types of jobs are solid entry points. They're always hiring, they need dependable people, and they're gonna give you a chance to prove yourself. And one of the ones that I did forget to mention was also landscaping and even moving companies and things like that. Sometimes those might be seasonal type jobs, or jobs that you don't necessarily go to work at every day. But those might be the things that you look for when you're first coming out, because those are always good opportunities as well. One of the biggest concerns, I'm sure you probably have, and a lot of the guys at Kingdom Towers do as well, is how are you going to explain your record to a potential employer? You need to keep it simple, and honestly, you have to check the little box on the application if it's on there, but you don't really have to do a whole lot of explaining, and the more simple you can keep it, the better this is going to be. You want to always be honest, and you want to keep it very brief. You want to take responsibility, emphasize the changes that you've made, and emphasize your future goals that you're working toward. You don't really want to dwell on it. But the primary thing you do not want to do is ever shift blame on others or minimize the situation or your charges that you've served time for. You never want to do that, and especially not putting the blame off on someone else. You just want to take that accountability and know that you're have a different mindset now and you're looking to move forward. And I think just keeping it as simple as that is probably the best way to go about that situation. You want to give a simple, clear, and concise explanation. That's going to go a lot further than a long, complicated story that may end up making you look worse than you think it would. And so you want to just keep it very simple, direct, but still be honest. Honesty is very important, and show some humility when explaining that as well. This simple, easy next step can really set you apart in the application process. Anytime that there's a chance for you to apply in person and go and visit with the employer, you need to take that opportunity. That might not always be the case, but in a world where all applications are done online, you submit your resumes online, people may get 100 applications or even more than that for one job. But if you can go in when it's non-busy hours for whatever type of facility it is, make sure you look nice and presentable, walk in with a smile, be friendly to everyone that you meet, and when walking into the place, ask to talk to a manager and just say, look, I've either applied online, or if they tell you you need to apply online, say, I will do that, so look out for my application. I just wanted to come and put a name with a face and to introduce myself and let you guys know that I'm very interested in seeking employment here. And doing this alone can set you apart against 90% of other applicants for that job. So anytime there's a way to do that, I recommend taking advantage of that. You also want to really use and take advantage of your reentry network. If you're at a program like we have at Kingdom Towers, a lot of times we know what type of employers are actively hiring, or who's willing to hire people with certain things on their record. And your parole officers may also be aware. There's also, like here we have Texas Workforce Commission, but check for the workforce places that, are aware of opportunities that will help you and work with you. You definitely want to use that. This is something you do not want to try to do on your own and navigate yourself. Sometimes, honestly, applying for jobs can be very discouraging at times, so you're going to need your support network. But remember to just keep looking forward ahead and know that God is going to put the right opportunity in front of you starting out and moving forward. Let's quickly cover how to present yourself in a resume. One of the primary rules that I have always followed, and I have had a career across multiple industries, but the primary rule that I've always followed and that I think is proper is to keep your resume to one page. This is going to keep it simple and concise to where the employer is going to be able to see all the information about you on one page. The worst thing you can do is show up with a 5-page resume with a lot of long sentences and explanations. You want to keep it simple. You want it to be bullet points, and you really want to highlight your skills, any education you have, your work experience, and including in your work experience, like even if you don't have a lot of free world experience, if you got locked up when you were a lot younger and you don't have a whole lot of work experience, include the positions that you've had while you're incarcerated on there as your employment, because that is what you've been doing. And you can include your past jobs, but you also want to highlight your skills of that you're reliable. Being incarcerated, I know just from going into the units that, there's always different time for this and, count time, all this stuff. You are probably very good at managing your time while you're in there, and you probably have a lot of time to manage. And so those types of skills that you've learned while being incarcerated, any type of teamwork, if you've held any kind of leadership role, if you've been a field minister or something like that, definitely include those on there, because those are going to show your efforts and, all the things that you've done while you've been incarcerated. On your education, if you have a GED or you have a high school diploma, if you have gotten any sort of degrees or things that you've studied while you've been incarcerated, you also want to include those under your education category. And I will have a sample resume document that goes along with this video so you can reference and kind of see how it should be formatted as well. So I hope that will be helpful for you. Now that we've talked about resumes, let's talk about interviews. This is the time that can make or break you. So you really want to pay attention to this section and really put your heart into understanding that your people skills are going to be the most important thing that's going to carry you through your reentry journey. If you have been in SEG for a long time, or you've just always been kind of shy, this is a time where you really need to man up, get focused, and really focus on your social skills when you go into your interview process. So you want to smile and be friendly all the time. And like I said earlier, if you go in and introduce yourself when you're applying for a job, no matter the receptionist at the front desk, any customers that you might see in there, anyone that works in there, you want to smile and be friendly to everyone, because everyone in there matters and you don't ever know who it is that you're going to be talking to. So always go in with a positive attitude, smile, be friendly. You want to dress appropriately for whatever job it is that you're interviewing for. If you are interviewing to work at a call center, we have a few guys that work at a call center. You want to, wear slacks, some nice shoes, a belt, and a shirt with a collar. If you're going to apply for a food service job or a construction job, you want to show up in the type of attire that you would wear for a job like that while still looking professional. You definitely don't want to wear any graphic tees or anything like that. Just make sure that you look professional and presentable. The most important thing when you meet whoever's interviewing you, you want to always make eye contact with them. When they're asking you questions, when you're answering them, eye contact is going to be what's going to show that you're honest and sincere. And you always want to give a very firm handshake as well, because this is going to show that you mean business, and that goes a very long way as well. In your interview, you want to keep your answers very clear and concise, just like we talked about explaining your record. Oversharing is probably one of the worst things you can do. If you go on and boast about yourself, or boast about discuss about your past in too much detail, you don't want to do these things. You definitely want to keep the answers clear and concise. It's always a good idea to bring a notepad and a pen to your interview, and you don't want to just come in with one sheet of paper or use the back of an envelope with a pen. You want to have a nice looking pen, nice looking notepad, carry that in with you, and you want to seem like you're engaged during the interview. And so jot down a few little notes while you're in the interview process. And it's a good idea too, because once they start to wrap up the interview, 90% of the time, I would say, they're gonna ask if you have any questions at the end of an interview. And the worst thing you can do is say no. You always want to seem interested and engaged in the interview process. And so it's a good idea to prepare a couple of questions before you go in and have it on your notepad so that you're prepared whenever they ask you if you have any questions, and then you have some written down. But this could even be as simple as, what would my scheduling look like for this position? Or do you have a long job description of the duties that I would be doing in this position? Those types of questions are really gonna seem like you are very interested in the job, and you're looking forward into the future of actually working there. So it's always a good idea, if your questions are answered that you've already come prepared with during the interview, that's the time you can jot down a question or two that might come up while you're having the interview. So it's always a good idea to have a nice pen and a notebook with you. And one of the most important things that I don't believe everyone does, and this can set you apart as well, you always want to follow up and send a thank you note within 24 hours. In our day and age now, that's mostly done through email. Used to, it was done through, actually physically mailing a card, but you want this to be sent within the first 24 hours. It's a good idea to go ahead and just, go ahead and send that email when you get home. Make sure and use spell check or something to where your words are very clear. You don't have a lot of grammatical errors. If there's someone that that's good at those things, wherever you are, if you have someone in your family or friend or, within your reentry network that's good at doing things like that, it's a good idea to get help with that, but you always want to follow up. And if you have been interviewed by one person, make sure and get their business card or their contact info so that you can send that email. If you're in a panel type interview and you have multiple people interviewing you, say 2 or 3 people, make sure and get all of their contact information so that you can send that thank you email to all of them. And this is just as simple as, the person's name and thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed meeting you and hearing more about the position. I'm very excited and looking forward to hearing back, and hope that I am a good fit for your organization. And end it with warm regards and then your name. It can be just very short and simple, but you definitely want to do that and follow up with a thank you, because that is going to be another one of those things that sets you apart and moves you up within the applicant pool. Again, like I said, you want to take any job that you can get. If you get offered a job, the first job you get offered, take it. This is important. Once you start to build your track record, then you can move on, but you need to build that foundation first. When you start your job, this is when the real work begins, because this is when you're truly going to be held accountable and you're truly going to have an opportunity to prove yourself and that you're a new man or woman. You want to show up early always for work, and not just like a minute before. You want to always be early. You want to always be prepared. You don't want to call in unless it's absolutely necessary. I mean, you are really, really either sick or something really bad has happened, a death in the family or something like that. In those first 30 days, you really don't want to call in for anything. I understand some things are going to come up, but don't just be lazy and want to stay in bed and call off for work. That is one of the biggest mistakes you can make, and that's going to go against your consistency and your reliability that you've been working so hard for. You always want to follow instructions, respect authority, and be very respectful to everyone, including your coworkers, the people that, the janitors there, or the, receptionist. You want to be nice and cordial to everyone in your work environment. This is going to make your job a lot more enjoyable. If you can make friends and buddies at work, this is also going to be good for, building your network and for potential more opportunities that are going to come along your way. In reentry, your reliability is going to be what matters more than anything, and your consistency is going to be what continues to set you apart. Now let's talk about things not to do. You don't want to wait too long to apply. we have seen, people procrastinating this, and then we've seen people apply for 100 jobs in, the first few days that they're here. And so you really want to apply for as many jobs as you can. If you need help, because most of the things are on the computer, if you've been in for a while and you have zero computer skills, you are going to need help doing this to be able to apply for jobs when you get out. So think about that too and consider who might be able to help you. You never want to turn down available work. And that includes little temporary work when you first get out, anything that you can do that, can help get you some experience under your belt, get you a little money. You need to do it and never turn down any work. That is one of our things at Kingdom Towers that we always try to encourage the guys. Never, ever, ever, ever miss an interview or be late. You can pretty much guarantee that you will not get that job. And what I suggest doing is, if you have a way to do it when you know your interview's at a set time for the next day, I would go map it out the day before, see how long it's going to take you to get there, make sure you know the entrance door that you're supposed to go in, and just map that out and be prepared, because that's going to alleviate some of your anxiety that day, because you're going to already know where you're going, how long it's going to take you, and be sure and get there at least 15 minutes early before your interview. You want to start being consistent early on. You never want to share your personal history, overshare your personal history. We kind of talked about that before, but this is a mistake that I think can easily be made. So while you're incarcerated, sit and practice talking, trying to explain things about your past, little, interview questions like, tell us about yourself. Why are you interested in a position like this? And you can kind of talk through and start to practice speaking those things out and really catch yourself oversharing. And so then you kind of have a tailored approach whenever you actually get into the interview process and you're ready and prepared to go with those types of answers. And don't boast about yourself. Sometimes we think we're a lot smarter than we actually are, and we need to show to a potential employer that we are willing to learn, that we know we don't know everything, but we are eager and there to set ourselves apart and really make a difference within the organization that we're going to work for. All of these things can get in the way of your success if you do those things. But if you remain consistent, have a positive attitude, keep moving forward, I have no doubt that you will be successful in your reentry journey. Programs like we have at Kingdom Towers are here to help you, but at the end of the day, it's on you. It's your effort, your consistency, your willingness to show up every day. You don't have to be perfect, because nobody is, only Jesus was perfect. But you just need to start and keep going day by day, taking it one day at a time. I hope this information will be useful for you, and I wish the best for you in your reentry journey. Remember, one job can change your entire direction. Stay consistent and you'll get there. Keep trusting in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths. Thank you for your time today.